I'm Noreen and welcome to my kitchen, and today I'm going to be making a recipe that was requested, a recipe that I make every now and then for my family for supper. I had one of my regular viewers ask me if I could show how to make baked macaroni and cheese. And with Thanksgiving coming, I thought this was a really good opportunity to share my way of doing this so that this person could maybe refer to it. He says he makes it, but there's just something missing, and I'll bet I know what that something is. So let's take a look at how I make this, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, I'm going to go over the ingredients and then we're going to move over to the stove. I've already cooked a pound of elbow macaroni and it is holding as we speak. We're going to be using a pound of shredded cheddar cheese and an extra cup of shredded cheddar for the top. You can use whatever combination of cheeses that you like. I'm also going to use a quarter of a cup of parmesan cheese. And then we're going to build our roux just like we made our basic cheese sauce by using a quarter cup of flour and a quarter cup of butter. We're going to season this up by using 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, about a tablespoon of Worcestershire, a sprinkling of nutmegs is about a quarter of a teaspoon of nutmeg, and in here I have a teaspoon each of salt, cracked black pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and mustard powder. We're also going to add what I consider to be the magic ingredient here, some sour cream, and I'll probably use about a cup. Maybe I'll use this whole container, and there's just a little bit over a cup in there. So we're also going to use 4 cups of milk, and we're going to move over to the stove, and then we're going to build this sauce, and then we're going to put it all together, and we're going to make a delicious baked macaroni. Okay, I've got my butter melting in here. I'm going to go ahead and add my flour. And give this a good whisking. Remember, equal parts flour and butter make a roux. And you want to cook this just a little bit to get the raw taste out of the flour. It does make a huge difference. And you'll be able to tell when it's cooked enough because it will take on a bit of a nutty aroma. We're almost there. It doesn't take very long at all. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to pour in our milk. And I'm just using a quart of Gosner milk that I get from Gosner. These I actually got at the dollar store. However, they don't sell them there anymore. And I had someone leave me a comment on one of my videos where I used some of this Gosner milk telling me that you don't buy milk at the dollar store unless they have a sign out front. Well, I don't know where they're from, but they were wrong, and they left some pretty disparaging comments on several of my videos. So,
can you see the box?
Huh? Oh, sure.
You see this down here? It's real milk.
That real symbol, yeah. And I like to have this milk on hand. Especially, I use it in recipes and cooking, so. And now we're just going to cook this, continually stirring it over medium heat, and it should start to thicken up pretty quickly. I'm going to go ahead and graduate to my wooden spoon, which I have sitting in my macaroni, and here's my prepared macaroni. When you cook this, you're going to want to cook it for about 8 minutes as opposed to 10 minutes, just so it's slightly undercooked, and that's just my own personal preference. Some people like to overcook their macaroni before they make baked macaroni and cheese. I personally think that that is a mistake.
And it turns into mush.
Yeah, well, some people like it like that. Well, I like my pasta to still be a bit al dente after it's come out of the oven. And this shouldn't take long at all to thicken up. I'm going to turn the heat up just a bit. But you don't want to leave it, because the minute you leave it, it starts to stick and it scorches. And then you're going to have to start your sauce all over again, because you don't want your cheese sauce to taste like it's been burnt. Now, I will also tell you that I have preheated my oven to 350 degrees. And once you get all of this mixed together, it's going to be a breeze, because this is already hot, so it's not going to be a problem. What I'm going to do now, well, that's thickening here. Oops. I'm going to go ahead and just, I did that one in. I'm going to just transfer my macaroni back into the pot that I drained it from so that I can mix all of this together in there. Now, there are several different schools of baked macaroni and cheese. A lot of really particular southern recipes for macaroni and cheese call for eggs. I'm just breaking this up in here. There was a little bit of water in the bottom of the pot. I'm going to leave it in there just so these can remain loose.
Independent.
And independent of each other, yes. Some schools of thought use eggs, and they actually build a milk and egg custard, and they do not make a cheese sauce like I am making. What they'll actually do is they will layer grated cheese and macaroni in a dish, and then they will pour over the custard mixture, which they have seasoned, sometimes similarly to mine, sometimes not. But this is the way I've been making it for years. This is the way my mother always made it, and I have tweaked it just a little bit to suit my own taste. My mother never used Worcestershire or mustard in hers, and I have to say, I think that it adds all the difference. Okay, you can see that this is already starting to thicken up and turn very velvety looking. This is exactly what you want. Pretty soon it's going to start to bubble. Before that happens, I'm going to go ahead and start adding my seasonings. Whoops, there's my nutmeg that I spilled most of there. And our Worcestershire, our mustard, and all of our dry spices. Get that in there. Give everything a good whisk and get this party started. I can see that it's starting to bubble slightly around the edges, and that's exactly what, it's already starting to smell so yummy. Okay, I'm going to get this mustard off my spoon. That's the only reason I'm doing that. Okay, I'm going to get this stuff out of the way. And now I'm going in with all but 1 cup of my cheese.
And a pinch.
Ow. I burned myself the other day when I was making something, and I just hit where I burned. Whisk this in until that cheddar cheese is all melty and delightful. And you want this to be a bit on the loose side. If you get to the point where your sauce feels a little bit thick, you might want to add some stock or some water or some milk. Mine is exactly where I want it. You have to remember, this is going to continue cooking in the oven, and it's just going to tighten up with the starch from the macaroni. Now I'm going to go ahead and start adding some sour cream, and I'm not going to temper this at all. I'm just going to start whisking. This is thick enough that it's not going to cause it to curdle. It's just going to become velvety and delicious. It's going to add a little bit of tanginess and an extra level of creamy smoothness to this cheese sauce. About a cup, I would say. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my Parmesan cheese right in there. That's going to help tighten things up just a little bit. And this is enough to serve a lot of people. I would say, 16 side dish portions easily. Unless you have a really hungry family, and then it might not feed as many people as I'm anticipating. Okay. Our cheese sauce is done. Pardon my arm. And you can use white pepper if you prefer white pepper. You all know how I feel about white pepper. I'm going to pour this cheese sauce right in there with the macaroni. And I'm going to get as much of it out as I can. And just give it a good stir. Be careful of that burner, sweetheart. It's hot.
You could chop and eat it just like that right there, can you?
Well, you could. It's not quite thick enough yet. You really want it to be thick, and that's why we're going to pop this in the oven. I'm going to bring over my... I have a 9x13 casserole dish here, and I have buttered it. Now this is going to bake for 30 to 45 minutes. But before we put it in the oven, I'm just going to give this a little zhuzh and kind of even out all that macaroni. Once it gets in the oven and starts bubbling away, it is going to kind of do its own thing. But because we undercooked the macaroni, that's the secret here. Okay? And I think I'm even going to top that with a little more Parmesan cheese. So let me grab that. Just because, you know, you can. And the Parmesan adds a whole other level of cheesiness and saltiness, and it's just perfect. So, into our oven for 30 to 45 minutes. Until this puppy is browned and bubbly, and this thing probably weighs 8 pounds. It's really, really heavy. So we'll be back when it's time to take this out and serve you up a dish of baked macaroni and cheese. Okay, this is ready to come out of the oven. It's been 30 minutes. It's bubbly and cheesy and perfect.
And slightly golden on the top.
That's exactly how you want it. Just slightly golden, and the top cheese is going to be just a little bit dried out. And it's going to have formed a beautiful crust because of the cheese and the cheddar cheese and the Parmesan really do that. This is like, some people really, really strive this crispiness on the top, and that's how you do it. You don't cover it up. You just let it go. There we go. And then even though it's a little bit hot, and you should go ahead and allow this to cool, then before you serve it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dish you up some of this wonderful stuff. And you see how it's still creamy inside, and that macaroni has cooked all the way, but it's also sucked up some of that sauce. That's exactly how you want it. Perfectly delicious. Oh, it is time for dinner. Okay, so there you have it. A beautiful dish. We're having this for supper tonight. This will serve several people for dinner. We're going to definitely have leftovers throughout the week. Molly already asked me if she could take it for lunch tomorrow. So, Mike 20NP was the individual who requested that I share this recipe. I hope that this does it for you, and I hope that you really love it. So, I hope this is great for you. I hope you try this baked macaroni and cheese. I hope you love it. And until next time, I'll see ya.